So everyone pretend that a professional warm-up comedian has already come out and they've warmed your hearts and spirits, souls, and let us know that although we're talking about serious subjects, we're going to have fun tonight.
Oh, so much fun.
We're going to discuss things, be open and kind. So pretend that just happened, everyone. Thank you. It's in the budget next month. Welcome, everybody. Welcome out to Dat-Mocracy Tho. Give yourselves a round of applause. Coming out here. Say hi to all our internet viewers out there on the facing books. Those of you who have not yet deleted it in a hashtag fashion yet. How many of you out there? Wally? 2.5 viewers. Okay.
There's 5.
We're working on it. Oh, double that. All right. I expected much less. Well, that's good. I'm glad you all could come out, be here with us tonight. My name is Daniel Reskin, I'm a local comedian. We'd also like to thank Mutiny. Give it up for Mutiny, this awesome space. How cool and eclectic. Everyone can pretend to still read. We do, online. Does it count? I'm not sure. And then there's one person I need to thank. He's our producer. He was here last month too, and he wants to take a bigger role in things. We couldn't have done this without him. I would just warn you, he's an eccentric individual, and kind of woking up in life. So, everyone, please give it up for our producer, who we couldn't do this without and have to feature. Tad Pizzazz. Tad Pizzazz.
Tad Pizzazz! Tad Pizzazz! Tad Pizzazz! I don't know how one of these things work. I'm new to this. Tad Pizzazz. My name is Tad Pizzazz, for those of you who've been following this thing. Thanks, Daniel. I like to wave off Daniel as much as possible. It gives me a little bit of a zing. But thank you, Daniel, for allowing that small humiliation. My name is Tad Pizzazz. Okay. Formerly Trent Gunk, that person is dead if you've been following this show. He no longer exists. Okay, you're here because of my success tonight. You don't know that, but I wrote a $25,000 check. I said, give me Daniel Reskin, the best goddamn millennial train-hopping heroin addict bookstore in Denver. Let's make some agents of change, huh? Yeah! Let's get bananas. Who's into it? I don't think I heard enough. That's right. We tackle a different topic every month. Last month was homelessness. This month it's gun control. But guys, before you do that, some new people here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life, so there's some context here, okay? Let you know who you're dealing with, all right? I live in Highlands Ranch. I have an 8,000 square foot home. I drove here in a yellow Hummer from the View House, and I'm the type of guy that has 2 fridges in the garage, one for stuff from Sam's Club and one for stuff from Costco. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm the type of guy that gets sat on all the time because I look like a bus bench with a realtor's face. Does that compute? I'm the type of guy that puts my child in pink clothing and sends him to school to get over my homophobia, okay? I'm the type of guy that likes to actively look for opportunities to strengthen my stool, okay? And that's why I have crock pots in 3 different time zones right now, just in case. If you're wondering, it's beef barley, all of them. I'm the type of guy, Daniel, I'm European style.
What type of guy are you?
I'm the type of guy, Daniel, no top sheet when I'm sleeping. Just I want the air to hit me. That's right. He knows.
Yeah.
That crosses the line right there. That one crosses the line.
I like to point out, I'm not racist. I like Despacito, okay? I don't mall walk with old people. I mall Macarena to make a point. Does that compute with you? I've had a lot of different woke moments. That's what I'm setting the table for, okay? And before we talk about that, Daniel, with this gun control stuff, I've done something this time.
Because you're a gun owner. You're proud.
I am, but I've done something now. I've taken drastic action.
Really? Like what kind of
Daniel, I lost 2 pounds earlier, okay? Like yourself, like your people, my foreskin runneth over. Does that make sense? The end of my penis looks like a Tiny Toons character made of silly putty bungee jumping. It looks like a fruit by the foot apricot flavor, but like 4 inches. Is that...
So you have a long foreskin.
That's right. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay.
And so I thought about the children lately. I've been thinking, I gotta do something. There's all these feelings and thoughts I'm having.
About children.
Yeah, all these... What's happening? We gotta get out and get active, Daniel. And so I thought to myself, I was down at Sweet Tomatoes in Lone Tree, as I am often.
It's a good restaurant.
It's a hell of a place. I'm the king of Lone Tree, Daniel. I'm the Snoop Dogg of Lone Tree. Okay? And as I'm getting my pats on the back and my attaboys and all that stuff, I was getting my last squirt of soft serve ice cream. You know, I was getting my last squirt of soft serve swerve on, if you will, with little rainbow jimmies.
I will.
Okay? And a wave of shame rushed over me. A wave of shame. I thought to myself, I gotta do something. I gotta do something big. This isn't enough. So I thought I just said I gotta take some steps. I want to be like that Cuban Charlie Brown girl. So I ran to
Emma Gonzalez, right?
yeah, I ran to the bathroom and I pulled off my foreskin and I shot it right off.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm the type of guy that doesn't just say something, I'll do something, Daniel.
Well, you shot your foreskin off?
I shot my foreskin off for the people of America,
rights.
for the United States of America, and I'd like to thank, God bless the Constitution and all those
I'm
dead,
sorry, everyone. I'm
all
sorry you
knowing
have to-
motherfuckers who wrote it. There's no apologies necessary, Daniel. This is real stuff, and I feel good. I feel better. I'm a little dizzy. Having some trouble standing up, but I'm going to kind of patrol the area for the rest of the show. I'm going to go smoke a salvia cigarillo and hand it back to you and talk about Colorado legislative comedy.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Tad Pizzazz, everyone. Give it up for this
Tad Pizzazz!
making a statement, doing more than
I shot it off for the United States!
any of us will do. Honorary member of the tribe now. You should see a rabbi quickly to get that taken care
I'm
of.
looking at you guys. No bullshit during this.
Okay, so Tad he volunteered against all of our wills to be the good guy with the gun tonight. So you all should feel safe? Question mark?
Watch it.
Because he's good?
Captain America, third row. Be careful of that coffee.
Keeping your lips safe, all right? Well, we'll see. Thanks everyone for bearing with it. It's a weird thing to talk about. I mean, that's why I wore the duck sweater tonight, because if anyone pulls something out, that's what you should do. It's just fucking a little real. I know. It's duck and cover, everyone. So welcome back, everybody, to our second episode of Dat-Mocracy Tho. We're gonna get into a little news. Last month, so we talked about homelessness. And we reviewed the upcoming Right to Rest bill that would provide basic protections to the homeless and people experiencing homelessness. To update, that bill has failed. Everyone, collective sigh. Womp womp. House Representative Steve Lebsock became the first person in 100 years to be expelled from the state house. And before I tell you why a male politician was suddenly run out of office, you think you can guess why? Me too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously he was accused by 5 women of inappropriate sexual conduct, and though he denied it to the end, Lebsock, which does sound like sex position your partner won't try, was easily voted out of office. So, later, Lebcock. On to the reason we're all here tonight, and slightly nervous. Guns. The Colorado bill just failed that would allow carriers of concealed weapons to do so without a license. And since you don't need a license to open carry, I can understand why gun owners feel they shouldn't have to pay to put their gun inside their pocket. But what I don't get is how don't you need a license to open carry? That seems like the bigger issue. Concealed permits require classes and money for the responsibility of instant ninja death. But you're free to wave around an AK-47 as long as it's a fashion accessory. So hopefully I'll learn how that works tonight. Although Americans overwhelmingly agree on background checks and other common sense regulations, we are used to getting nothing. It feels like the best we could hope for is for someone to invent personal force fields. That way, we would all live in the coolest, saddest future ever. Surrounded by bubbles of electricity. No hugging. I also learned that registering guns is illegal in Colorado. It's prohibited. I surprised because I think people would be into it if they were into registering their guns. You know, make a whole day out of it. We'll go take some pictures together. Make a Facebook profile for your gun. You know, give it a fun name like Old Smoky or Grandma Deserved It. She should have turned the lights on. Fun gun names. Of the few regulations that have passed on guns, one of them is that medical marijuana users can't buy guns. This affects me. Yeah. Let that sink in. Stoners are too dangerous to have guns. So when I get high, like, what do they think I'm going to shoot? The longest game of pool ever? Is that just... They're not going in. I actually hit them back into a triangle shape because I forgot what we were doing. That's what I shoot. Since Columbine, over 150,000 students have survived school shootings. We have a generation of children with PTSD. One day some kid will hear a Vietnam vet saying, "You don't know what it was like in the jungle, man." And they'll say, "You don't know what it was like in geometry." I'm given hope by these high school students speaking out. I am also really amazed by them. I had paralyzing anxiety giving a book report. These kids are inspiring millions while looking over their shoulders for bullets like a beefing rapper. All right, well, thank you, everybody. We've got a great show for you tonight. Please applause. I pulled a bush. I pulled a bush. Please clap. We need a sign. We've got experts, activists, survivors, and comedians tonight. But first, he authored the ban on bump stocks recently passed by the Denver City Council. He's a Democratic candidate for Senate District 34 and a civil rights lawyer who sued President Trump and won. I'm going to hear about that. Alan Kennedy-Shaffer. There we go. Host and roadie. Thanks for being here, Alan.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. First off, I got to know about that Trump thing. I don't know if we should. I just got to hit that right on the head. You sued Trump and won. The most litigious man in the universe.
Exactly. Yeah, less than 2 weeks into Trump's presidency, I led the pro bono federal civil rights lawsuit here in Colorado against the Muslim travel ban on behalf of my friend Zachariah Hagig, a Libyan international student. And we took Trump to court, and turns out he's not that smart, and neither are his lawyers. So they conceded defeat a couple months later, and every travel ban since has had to specifically exempt international students.
I would say suck it to him, but I honestly think he doesn't care and has probably forgot it the instant that he left the room.
Exactly. Well, just to make sure he doesn't forget it, I sued him again.
Yes!
And we're in federal court right now fighting Trump to protect access to birth control.
Fantastic. That's what's up. So it's not just one issue you're dealing with. So.
It's everything.
He makes it everything. That's right. Well, so we just had the march, and so tell us, we're talking about guns tonight. Can you kind of tell us how Colorado kind of fits into the national gun scene?
Yeah, so Colorado is, according to Guns and Ammo magazine, we're ranked 39th, so that's good. We're not the worst, but there is certainly a long way to go in terms of making our gun laws more sensible.
Sure. Because I mean, I've been here maybe 3-4 years now from Florida, which is another state not known for sensible gun regulation. But I was definitely, it took me some time to piece together how much Colorado has been in the national spotlight. Why do you think Colorado was so volatile in that respect?
Well, and almost all of the shootings have been using AR-15s or variants of AR-15s, except for Columbine, and that was because AR-15s and other assault weapons were actually banned during that period from '94 to 2004, when the federal assault weapons ban expired. Since then, it's basically been the Wild West.
Really? Yeah. So what does it take? Say I want to buy a gun, from a handgun to a big AR-15. What do I have to do?
In Colorado, it's pretty easy. You can buy it from a licensed firearms dealer or a private seller, but you have to pass the universal background check based on the 2013 law that made those background checks universal. And if you're 18, you don't have a felony conviction or a domestic violence conviction, and you can then be approved, and you pick up the gun within 30 days. There is a background check fee that is now $15. It was raised from $6.
Okay, that's nothing to murder, but so not that hard.
Not that hard.
Is there anything that you think is important that people know, or any issues that are kind of being? There's so many aspects to this. It's just like a giant ball of knots that we have to untie little by little.
So there's definitely some hope. I recently, in October, after the Las Vegas shooting, I drafted and proposed to Denver City Council a ban on bump stocks,
Right.
and we were able to pass that in January with the help of Colorado's Ceasefire and Moms Demand Action, League of Women Voters, a lot of other supporters who came together to push Denver City Council to ban bump stocks.
So that's for the city of Denver?
For the city of Denver.
No bump stocks. Illegal.
Exactly. It is
All right.
now illegal.
It's something.
So
I'll
that's
take it. I'll take it. A little something.
Baby
right?
steps. Baby steps.
Yeah.
And
a little less death. Well, what influence does the gun lobby and the NRA have on Colorado politics?
Well, the NRA has paid millions of dollars to fund the campaigns of Cory Gardner, Mike Kaufman, other Republican elected officials who work to make sure that good laws don't pass. So that recently the state Senate killed a bill that would have banned bump stocks, for example, and the state Senate passed a bill that would make it so you could carry your weapon concealed without a permit at all. That didn't become law because it didn't get through the House.
Right.
But they're
So that's very
definitely
real
pushing for
influence.
it.
Yeah.
It's direct influence, and I think that's why 1 million people came out to march on Saturday.
Do we know Denver? We were trying to find that
I've seen
number.
different
If anyone knows it.
estimates from 20,000 to 150,000.
Nice.
Hard to. I'm guessing more probably in the 30 to 50,000
Still,
range.
it's in the shit ton region.
There's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. Well, cool.
Exactly.
Any final? Yeah.
Well, I brought you a gift. So that
Gift,
you
our first
could,
gift.
so that you would have something to remember me by as an expert on why we need more sensible gun laws. So you're
Whoa. That's not a vitamin. What is this thing?
so that's a spent round from an AR-15. So
Oh, they
this
have an
is the type of this is what would be part of a killing machine that has killed so many students and teachers, and that's what we're up against.
Well, that's a good reminder. All right. Well, thanks very much, Alan, Kennedy-Shaffer. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Man. Bullet. All right. Coming up next, we have a different perspective, an editorial from another member of the comedy community, and also a self-described autosapien. So, everybody, please give it up for Steve Vanderploeg.
Great. Use that one? Great. I'll use this one. Awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Vanderploeg. About a month ago, I decided that I was going to become a gun, essentially. And I've been going through this transition, and I'd like to read you guys my most recent diary entry. It's my second one. And pardon me if I stall a little bit during this. I've been eating nothing but bullets for breakfast and shells for any other kind of sustenance.
You hungry still?
I am, thank you so much. By the way, I know you said duck, but also that Reminds me of the game Duck Hunt. 7 weeks ago, I decided to become a gun. Not just any old gun, but a high-powered automatic rifle. I decided to do this not just for the fame, but also the constant support from my fans, even when I mess up. My goal is to be able to say and do whatever I want on stage, no matter how disgusting or disturbing, and have half this country praise me regardless. It's time for me to be loved like the high-powered rifle that I am. 6 weeks ago, I started taking micro-injections of aluminum into my bone marrow. The very day that Trump signed those new tariffs, I was able to find an American steel company to upgrade those injections. Once that phase completes, my blood will automatically infuse metals into my bloodstream, coating my organs in metal. I've already joined the list looking for a trigger donor, which is nice. This past week, obviously, was one of discovery, mainly of my own identity. Even though my transition is less than 20% complete, I found out that not everybody in this country is a fan of me, and that's not the best feeling. However, I am already accepted. I can choose whatever bathroom I prefer, which is really nice. People seem to not care about that. They seem to feel safer when I'm there. That's great. Regardless of how they identify. At the same time, it seems like some people are really intolerant to my new identity. On Saturday, hundreds of thousands of people marched against me across the country, and who I am on the inside. My heart's chambers have not converted yet, and I'll be honest, it hurts just a little bit. For the first time, this country is being honest with how they feel about my kind. It's been strange after having been defended my whole life. It's not Steve, it's bullies. It's not Steve, it's violent video games. It's not Steve, it's Marilyn Manson, the media, it's mental health. As much as I want to believe that it's these other things, for the first time, I'm having doubts that maybe it is me, after all.
Bullet drop, and I support your journey. Salute you and your bravery. Thank you very much. Steve Vanderploeg, everybody. Guns don't shake hands. All right. Buleta. Yeah, so I'd like to welcome our panelists. It's time for our panel. Can everyone please do a round of applause for our panelists tonight? Feel free to seat yourselves. Welcome, Mr. Evan Davis from Never Again, Colorado. It's Eileen McCarron, Colorado Ceasefire, and Patrick McGirr, artist, father, gun owner, and dynamic individual. Just father. Just father. Just to start off, in the order you guys came up, you could just give a little brief introduction.
Hi everybody, I'm Evan. I'm from Never Again, Colorado. We organized the March for Our Lives that took place this Saturday. We're completely student-led. Everyone on the board is 26 and under. The oldest one's 24. The youngest one is 12. She's adorable. She's great at what she does. She has me terrified for my job.
Do you accept older people?
Yeah, they're cool.
People in their 30s?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
All right, one step at a time, I get it. Cool. Eileen?
So I'm Eileen McCarron. I've actually been working on gun violence prevention since 1995 personally, but Colorado Ceasefire has existed since the year 2000. We organized first as a PAC to punish those legislators who killed the bills following Columbine, the gun violence prevention bills. And we've been lobbying at the Capitol ever since. In 2012, 4 nights after the Aurora theater shooting, we gathered people who'd worked on this issue back in 2000 together, and we came up with proposals of what we could change in Colorado. Our lobbyists took that and formed a stakeholders group of sheriffs who denied they were there, police chiefs, mental health, domestic violence and gun violence prevention groups, representatives that we came up with a platform of what we would introduce in the 2013 legislature, and those laws that you've heard about came out of that work. We got high capacity magazine ban of 15 rounds, and universal background checks in the state of Colorado, and also a domestic violence relinquishment. That is, if someone's domestic violence abuser, the courts will ask them to relinquish their firearms.
All right. That organization was like a direct response to Columbine almost?
It was actually a direct response to the legislature's failure to enact the laws.
For any change after Columbine.
After Columbine. The Safe Colorado took the initiative to close the gun show loophole here in Colorado in 2000. So we closed it in 2000, but we decided to go after the legislators and say, let's change this around. And it was kind of neat because we were instrumental in, we were actively working in a number of races, and 6 of them changed seats that changed parties. And also the Democrats took the Senate for the first time in 40 years.
Wow. In here in Colorado?
Here in Colorado.
Wow, that's significant. Thank you. All right, and Patrick McGirr, tell us why you're here, Father.
The mural on the wall out here, I did that.
Yeah, the great painting right outside
I paint
me.
for Sailor Jerry. I paint for Bert and Snowhorns. I'm the educator this year and the artist for the Cherry Creek Children's Public Libraries. I'll be teaching summer camps for children. I teach in schools all over the place.
Is that gun-related teachings?
No,
Okay. What's your gun cred?
I'll get there.
Okay. He's unrolling the carpet slowly. I'm sorry.
I
Let me
paint
jump out.
35,000 toys a year called condoms for students from Israel to Japan to Russia to all over. I educate, I teach, and I also am one of the foremost gun customizers probably in the United States. But I'm a father first. And so I came here not only to speak, but to listen. And because I think the loudest voices are the ones that get heard the most. And I'm not that. I'm a dad first. I teach your kids, I teach your kids, I teach my kids. I'm here to listen, I'm here to talk to you guys, and I'm here to answer any question that you want to know. So that's who I am.
All right, thank our panel for being here, everybody. Taking time out of their busy schedules to help us all learn a couple things. So let's start with the march. The march just happened. We're hitting a kind of a crescendo that we've never hit before, it seems, in the gun discussion. The significance of the march, and do you think what goals it had were accomplished?
I think so. Well, what I think for me, the biggest thing about the march is we, as an organization, never again, I'm sure Ceasefire as well, we've really wanted to try to make it clear that this isn't a partisan issue, this is an American issue. This is an issue that has affected people from all sorts of backgrounds, different creeds, colors, orientations. And when we looked out on the stage on Saturday, looking out into the crowd, there were people all over the board. There were, kids, kindergartners, first graders running around. There were people who were, 65, 70 years old, folks who had been living here all their lives, folks who had moved here a month ago. And to see everyone coming together despite all their differences and different backgrounds, I think we really started to cement this idea that this has affected almost everybody in the country in one way or another, directly or otherwise. And in that same line of thinking, everyone is sick of it, and we're adamant about wanting change and wanting actual comprehensive change. So I was really I was taken aback, and I was just really blown away by that. Definitely.
Right. What are next steps from there as far as not letting that momentum just dissipate?
Well, actually, when our vice chair, she went to go and give her speech, Madison Rose, she took out a letter that Never Again Colorado wrote, and we had all signed, urging lawmakers here in Colorado to pass a red flag law that essentially, I'll let Eileen touch on this in a minute, but essentially giving families and officers of law the tools they need to help prevent these tragedies before they even have a chance to become a reality.
Is that like taking people's guns who are at risk? Is that red flag stuff?
Yeah.
Like what the president wanted to do? Take their guns and end the law. That thing, kind of?
Something like that, but making sure that, things like due process and,
Oh.
civil rights are maintained
rights
and that
and
kind of
stuff?
thing. So
I heard about
very
those.
important things like that, just minor details like
Sure.
that. So, but we took that letter and Madison Rose proclaimed, she told all state lawmakers, if you care about the safety of the students here in this crowd, then make this bill a law, and we'll be sending that off to lawmakers by the end of this week, and we're going to be making a huge push. We'd like to see that done before the session ends here this year. So, yeah.
You have a big support of fathers and gun owners here too, as well with that.
That's good to
Just so
hear.
you know that.
Thank you.
To be
Yeah.
honest with you,
Thank you. Yeah.
you really do.
Thank you.
Right, so speaking as a father, you know, it's kids that have made this issue so significant. It's not just a bunch of post offices.
It's kids that have brought it to the forefront. It's been an issue
Yeah.
for years. It's not an issue of just gun control. It's an issue of how we treat each other as well. That
Learn
needs to
as
be brought to
kids.
the forefront as well. It
Yep.
needs to be how I treat you, how you treat me, how I look at you when you leave here, and how we look at each other. It takes a village. That's a cliche, but it literally takes a freaking village. I'm a father. I don't think you should be able to come in and buy a gun from me without some kind of training. I don't feel that you should be able to come in and buy a gun from me like you should be able to, you can't walk in and just buy a Ferrari and go drive it.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
And can't
it's-
people do that now?
No.
Currently
absolutely
under
not.
the-
You
I mean,
cannot buy a gun in Colorado if you have a speeding ticket that you have not paid for. That's the facts, because I turn down people every day.
Oh, yeah.
But I also live in a state where if you walk in and you pass your background check and you have KKK tattooed across your neck, I legally have to sell you a gun.
Like a
Because you
cake.
can sue me.
Right.
Do I think that's right? No, I think that's bullshit. I think I should look at you and go, fuck no, you shouldn't have a gun. Absolutely. But I can't because you could sue me.
Sure, right. They're
But
not
I'm
allowed to
father,
like
like
profile
you said.
people's looks on giving them a
But
gun.
what's
but
marketing?
That could
What's
be the
marketing?
nicest Nazi in the world that with the KKK tattoo. And he just can't afford to get the tattoos removed. He already saw the light and he wants to protect his babies
I hear you,
now.
brother, but what's,
You know?
what's marketing? Tell me marketing isn't racial profiling. Tell me marketing to anybody. When I sell you a product, if I'm selling you a shoe or I'm selling you a shoe, I'm not selling you the same shoe I'm selling you because I'm profiling you.
So sure, advertising is profiling in a way too. Yeah, I mean,
100%.
but so with gun policy, like we're zooming out, you know, America is the only country where this is happening.
No, it's not.
No?
No.
What other countries afflicted by mass shootings the way we are?
Every single one of them?
I'm not sure if you've seen the current statistics of national
What? We're number 3 right now?
of shooting. Under
Take away The
who?
first 5 and we're 198.
For mass shootings.
What do you consider a mass shooting?
Over 4 people.
Since 1914 in Colorado, right? The
I mean,
incident was
America. Yeah.
Well, let's just talk here right now.
What
Let's
country
go
is
back.
beating us? I'm curious. In mass shootings.
Go anywhere. How many people today were kidnapped and shot in America compared to anywhere else?
Almost all of the articles and data coming out over the last year has shown how much, like, other countries are here and we are way up here, buddy. We are.
Take out the first five states in our country that have the strictest gun laws, and we're 198th. We're not third.
All those mass shootings are happening in 5 states that are
Yes, they are.
skewing the entire statistics.
Absolutely.
That's an interesting argument. That's
100% they are.
I just have to take exception to
sorry.
that, just because the states that have the strongest laws on guns also have the lowest gun deaths. I mean, that's pretty strong correlation. And the United States has like 20 times the gun deaths of a composite of all the comparable developed countries. We are just way up there with their killing each other's, and we're killing ourselves.
right, not just murder, suicide.
Suicides.
Suicides is the highest.
Suicides.
But all gun deaths. I mean,
All gun
we're number one in all categories. I'd be amazed if we weren't.
In the advanced world, mass shootings are certainly a far bigger problem here than they are anywhere else. And I'm sure, yes, there's anecdotes across the board. Of course, there's the tragedies that happen in France.
It doesn't make it right. I'm not arguing.
No. Of course, it doesn't
None
make
of
it
it's
right.
right.
I think the biggest issue is just the fact that we're one of, the richest nations to ever exist in all of human history.
We're probably the most civilized that has this happen.
I'd agree with that 100%. Yeah, and that's what we want to put a stop to, because the fact that we're one of the most civilized, and the fact that we have this sort of barbaric occurrence happening over and over again should not be a thing. What we have been saying at Never Again is, at the end of the day, it's not about just gun laws. It's not about trying to take people's guns. That's the last thing anybody wants.
I kind of want it.
It's
Well, the big scary one.
I'll let you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but what it's really about is, for us, it's about ensuring the safety and the well-being of the students of this state, of this country. This is a multi-faceted issue. So like we do want to anything that can get us closer to that end goal, we want to look at. So yeah, that's mental health. That's family support. That's education support. But that's also gun laws. Steve was talking about how we were all out marching against him on Saturday, and like maybe a few were certainly, but at the end of the day, I don't dislike Steve. I just want to stop Steve from getting into the hands of someone who wants to hurt someone really bad. That's what we want at the end of the day, more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Evan mentioned the extreme risk protection order. That is the major bill that we really want to get introduced, and we're working at the Capitol, at this, we've been working since the first of the year trying to get this introduced. Actually was spurred by the deputy sheriff's shooting in Douglas County, where it was clear this man had problems, and the law enforcement knew it, and the family knew it. They tried to take away his guns. And so this extreme risk protection order is a process that can go through the court, family, and law enforcement to disarm and put the person on the no-buy list, and as a temporary measure. And it is not necessarily dealing with people who are mentally ill. It can be people who are we call dangerous. And in fact, the law that we were hoping to get passed just refers to them as dangerous. They could be that they're mad that their wife left them, or they found their spouse sleeping with someone else, or they lost their job, they've had a death in the family, whatever it is.
Just the worst day of their life.
Something that's really off for them, that they can't handle the anger.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Yes.
I agree with you on a lot of that. A lot. I think if you're having domestic or anything like that, there is things like this where we need to work together. But that doesn't work in the gun stores. Once you pass your federal background check, that's up to those two departments and the departments to work together on that. That's not up to the gun owner, the gun store. That's not up to us. I agree with you 100% on that. There should be flags on that. Should you be able to come out as you have a domestic? Should you be on probation? Should you be able to? Absolutely not.
So it's not left up to the gun dealer to
It's not at all. Once we put your information in, and that goes to the federal government, that's on them to regulate and control how they deal with each other. There should be no flags.
That's almost like there's more pressure put on bartenders, because if they serve you too much alcohol and you drive drunk, they're on the hook.
Well, that's a good thing about
You're
this
right.
law is
You're
that
right.
is that this law doesn't put the burden on the gun dealer. This law, what it does is it doesn't put the burden on anyone. It gives family members, friends, and officers of the law the tools to prevent a person who wants to cause harm from even getting to you in the first place.
It takes the burden away from the people who should be doing that. The federal government, once I type in your information, your social security and everything, that's on the police department. That's on the mental health. That's on hospitals.
Oh,
that's on
absolutely.
everybody.
But if you
But
haven't
we're not
committed,
saying that takes the burden off us, because
Right.
a lot of times I look at people and go, shit, no.
well, what if these individuals who haven't committed a crime yet or don't have a criminal
That's on the
record?
federal government. I have to tell you that.
But the federal government can't always predict who is going to
But
want
that's
to
who you're
commit-
trusting
hold
to
on,
do it
hold
now,
on.
right?
No, this law doesn't put the burden on anyone. It's giving
Who's gonna
if I've
enforce
got a close friend
Who's gonna
and
enforce it?
It goes on the next.
if I got a close friend and I know that he's
I'm sorry,
exhibiting
I didn't
certain
mean to
signs.
interrupt you, my friend.
Thank you for apologizing. Interrupt.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Interrupt the rest.
I get it. I'm sorry.
But no,
Just point out, folks.
what it does more than anything is, if like in the instance, if I've got a friend and I know he's exhibiting certain signs and it's apparent that he wants to cause harm to people, and he doesn't have a criminal record, there's nothing now that prevents him from being able to obtain a gun. What this does is it gives me a tool to stop him from ever being in a position to cause harm in the first place. There's I think the way it's currently written, the one that we're trying to tout, there's a 21-day temporary restraining order that can be put on someone who is especially at risk, and there's a further evaluation that takes place after that. No one, and at the end of that 21 days, if they show that they're fine and that they've calm down, so to speak, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but they'll get their firearms back, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The thing is that as a friend, you wouldn't be able to do it, but you could go to law enforcement
That's right,
or
yeah.
the family and have the family do it. I also wanted to point out, the person's name would be put in the National Criminal Instant Background Check System, so that it wouldn't be for a gun dealer would not have to make a decision. It's in the system, and it'll be there temporarily until the protection order is removed.
All right. Well, a lot to learn, lot to soak in. I want to bring out one more guest tonight to join us. He is also a local comedian, but he is also a survivor of the Aurora shooting for The Dark Knight. So please welcome Andrew Bueno, everybody. Not your normal comedy intro, huh?
I know, right? I can't really be as wackety-schmackety-do as I want to be.
Thank you for not wearing the wacky hat you usually wear.
Hey, everybody! No, it's okay. It's something that certainly deserves a certain amount of weight, but I don't necessarily want to project it as a triggering sort of thing. It's something I'm certainly fine to speak about. So.
But right, I guess for everyone, is going to talk about that. Anyone's sensitive to that kind of stuff. And the reason I asked you to come talk about that tonight is because we were on a storytelling show, the narrators together, and this is something I'm pretty sure you don't wear on your sleeve, is that you survived. You haven't done it in your act. I believe that night was one of the first times you were really talking about it in public.
I think for the years since those events, I've kind of been in a place of not really wanting to interject any specific measure of importance to any story that I'd have to tell, because I was very fortunate within the circumstance. I was lucky to survive intact. I was lucky the people I was with survived intact. To the point where I don't necessarily want to project that as being, it's not so much of a...
You feel like it's not a badge of honor to have survived this?
I don't want to, it was a narrative I never had the desire to try to make anywhere about me.
Sure.
But as things escalate, it becomes more important to actually offer a perspective based on, okay, that was something that comes back to me continuously and something that I have to factor for, even if I think there's it's not as specific as a survivor's guilt, but more just kind of you have to own your part in an event. Otherwise, nothing's going to necessarily come as a reflection of it. Or nothing positive can come as a reflection of it, but it's been a process of years to really be able to do that.
Right. So, I mean, if you could just very briefly, just an overview of like what happened.
Okay.
If you might reliving that traumatic experience for us.
Oh, why not? Well,
for our entertainment.
Part of why it's an issue is that this isn't me trying to do fucking bits.
No one's expecting you to be funny or cool about it.
I was stoned through the entire thing. But as a reflection of it, there's pieces of those events that became... so I had been to that theater. I go to that theater still. I go to it constantly. It's the best price in town. Holy shit. Century 16's amazing. It's $7.85 now. It used to be $6.85. It was $6.85 at the time. Not an important part of the story, but... I went, and I had been there before for a Harry Potter screening where the electricity had gone out. So there was something about the sequence of events that night of during watching Batman, when the lights went out and when things started moving and when it became apparent there was like an issue, within those moments, within the functional time frame of the shooting, I was never cognizant of the fact that it was a shooting. It just, the chaos of that moment just made it feel like, internally all I was feeling was that the lights went out during Harry Potter 2 months back. Well, god damn it, they're gonna get these lights back on and show me fucking Batman. That's all I could really think. To where, by the time I left the theater, I kind of hung out far too long. I was greeted by a couple of Aurora PD with shotguns and assault rifles, which was the first indication that this was something real. And at that point, seeing sort of the secondary component of that sort of situation, I was in the theater next door to Theater 9, Theater 8. And when shots were being fired, there's an action movie next door, so you assume on some level that is just the magnification of a good theater sound system. But then to years later, really, it didn't seek it at the time, but just to understand that each of those pops that I just internally excused as a theater sound system were lives ending. And that took years for me to really kind of understand. And then even within the chaos of that environment, seeing folks injured, seeing response, to kind of see that come together in a way that it's almost inappropriate to try to assign a narrative. It is just sort of this, it's an event that I kind of have tried to untangle over time to where, again, I'm limited to try to own its impact. It feels, I'm self-limiting my ability to own its impact on me. But just to see this narrative come up around these sorts of events, and to see the way people's opinions and understanding hits with these concepts, a lot of it takes a different tone in both directions if you are ever near violence, whether it be for your ability to defend the Second Amendment or to want to see more restriction. It galvanizes you in both directions for both reasons. And in certain respects, I actually feel within both sides of the spectrum, even with having experienced that. What I'm going through right now, what I have been going through throughout these years, I never want to have another human being have to address those feelings inside. Well, thank you. But the platform by which people address these issues, I can see why it can lead you to either end. Why being a victim of violence is going to galvanize your understanding of this issue. So I'm just starting to kind of
Process all that.
that.
I mean, that's been years and still. So yeah, asking you and then opening it up to the rest of the panel. Living in gun world. Living in a world where every single human can potentially have a gun, and guns are always something to think about.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you feel, or where you see things going? Have you been more nervous or less? You say you go back to the same theater, so that's a good sign. Right? You just like the cheap movies, so maybe it's just good popcorn. It should be free at that theater now. Or they should be begging people. But yeah.
I tend not to have a projected sort of issue with interpersonal safety because of those events. It's not really, that's
feel
not
less
the
safe.
impact. It's really, that's not the specific impact that it's had. I can understand the lightning strike quality of being a part of violence and understanding the capacity by which those numbers are increasing in certain respects and also decreasing in others. And I also get that discussions about gun violence are fundamentally incomplete when they don't include discussion about police violence and about not specifically the viability for mentally ill folks and firearms, because they're by far not mostly nonviolent, but more the fact that, a majority of suicides are also a part of how gun laws are handled for mentally unstable people. So it's a larger conversation for coming from an environment of my limited involvement with a mass shooting, involvement not being the right word, but to understand that the conversation just simply has to be bigger. And that's why I think even in trying to address it as a societal issue, my piece of the experience is really just one piece. And I think legislation built on just one piece can be an issue. I'm actively afraid, actually, of just like any piece of legislation, especially things like drug laws, I have a fear that anything could be weaponized against marginalized communities.
Right. I mean, we barely mentioned people of color who are disproportionately affected by all of this at a much higher rate.
Exactly, and to see legislation pass that would disproportionately impact people of color or people of marginalized communities, just like drug laws have, is a fear of mine. But I also believe something has to happen. We have to try things. There has to be some sort of range by which we can address issues in a way that things like magazine limits and more provisions by which to actually make checks effective within governmental stands, things like that. These are all reasonable measures to take. Yep. So it's kind of, all the movements that have coming up, but my heart is so much behind them, but I also am so afraid of how these narratives can be adapted by politicians, which of course don't always hit the mark. with how laws are presented and interpreted. So it's something that I think now this current kind of gunfight and the way it's proliferated causes me at times more anxiety than my recollections of those events. Like it's interesting because I don't know where it's going.
I know I sound a little bit like a broken record, but more than anything, we've really wanted to make clear that this isn't just about trying to reform gun laws. This is about a grander thing, and that's, you know, preserving people's well-being and preserving their safety. Way before you get to the Second Amendment, the line, you know, for to preserve, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness shows up well before that, and that's what we're concerned with more than anything. And we really, and in line with that, we want to be real cognizant about the types of laws that we're pursuing so that they can't be used to, you know, affect marginalized groups. We want to make sure this is about preserving people's inherent rights and freedom at the end of the day. There's little things we can do to start, and that starts with gun laws and that sort of thing and looking at them, but then we want to expand beyond that, looking at mental health, family support, educational support, what gets us closer to that end goal of making sure that that inherent right is preserved. That's what it is for us more than anything.
Oh, there's a part of the narrative behind a lot of these mass shootings and things too, that's where a lot of the backing motivation tends to fall within things like anti-feminist movements and traditionally white supremacist movements, and a lot of the backing understanding behind the motivations for these shootings has been ideas that have been cultivated since, you know, the gun show days in like the mid-'80s. So I think when it comes to how we address legislation for these pieces too, it's kind of, it's interesting to kind of know the response of the rhetoric from those sorts of organizations, and to understand that the fight becomes like sensible gun laws versus white supremacy, which don't seem like antithetical.
Yeah, those are equals.
And I did wanted to say one thing that has not as much to do with laws, but about everyone in this room and with common causes, general beliefs. In 2000, the legislature was considering the closing the gun show loophole. And a woman who was very adamant for this came to Ken Gordon, who was the representative, then later senator, has since passed away. But she asked him, "Is this law going to pass?" And he said no. And she started just getting really mad. Why? How can this be that this very common sense law doesn't pass? And he looked at her and he said, "Who's your state representative?" And she goes, "Diana DeGette." And he goes, no, state representative. She goes, "I don't know." And he said, "That is why this law will not pass." And it is incumbent on every one of us to know who represents us at the State House and in Congress and elsewhere, and to make our views known to them.
Amen on that.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Can I say something real fast? I came here because I wanted to listen, and I think I probably represent about 95% of the responsible gun owners in the United States. Honestly, I do. I didn't come here to prove points. I didn't come here with facts. I didn't even say a lot. I came here to listen to you, and I came here to listen to you. I came here to listen to you, and I came here to listen to you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and every one of you. And I want you to know that 95% of us that are out there, that are dads, that are gun owners, that do this, we're here. We're not that extreme. We're not that crazy asshole that's over here fucking talking about this. We're not the loudest ones. I'm here because I want to hear you. I do this. This is what I do for a living, right? One of the questions that you guys pre-gave me was, I use guns as a medium for my art. No, I don't. You can't find one of my paintings that has a gun in it. I paint on guns. I do that, right? I'm a dad. I'm a father. I came here because I wanted to learn. And to be honest with you, we didn't touch on anything here. I'm telling you.
We didn't touch on anything here.
We really didn't.
I disagree.
You and I could sit here. Well, hey.
Thought we hit a couple things.
I'm
not as much as maybe you would have liked, but I think we scratched the surface.
I'm not trying to insult you.
Okay, well, you did, but that's all right. But now that I know you didn't mean to, it's cool.
But I complimented your sweater right when I got here.
The sweater is more important than the show content, you're right.
I think
It's not.
again, in response to the idea of what can be considered common sense legislation, obviously red flag law, hell yeah, I can't really conceptually come against anything that's going to, again, bar somebody with a violent past from owning a weapon. I think sometimes what ends up happening, though, is you see that sometimes our bans are aiming so specifically as to make themselves inherently ineffective. Because a rifle with the same internal mechanism matched with a high-capacity magazine in another form can do the same thing.
Sure.
So it's...
Right. AR-15, I mean, a lot of guns shoot the same bullets an AR-15 shoots.
Yeah, but even just the internal...
to say that, we can't write
true.
No other guns use the same bullets that an AR-15 uses?
Show me a pistol that shoots that.
Not
Name
a
one.
pistol, but a different type of non-AR-15 assault rifle.
Show me a
Anyway,
pistol
we're
that's
not going to get into the minutia because that is one of the ways that like the gun arguments kind of lose track of what we're actually talking about here, but not product numbers, but like killing or not killing.
In any case,
But,
too, in that
but
same
because we can't write
respect-
the perfect law doesn't mean we can't try to write laws.
Exactly. It's something we'll hopefully learn
calm down,
by
please.
trying
Yes.
things.
All right.
We have one internet question. JD Brown is asking, what is your opinion of having a mandatory insurance requirement for firearms? Yeah, I mean,
Should you have some kind of liability or insurance? I think you should have liability and insurance for having children.
I mean, wouldn't that be registering your gun if you had to get insurance policy on it in some form?
Not a lot of people are against that, dude.
For the
Yeah, I think registering guns is a good idea.
Is this referring to?
But it's illegal.
Is this
Colorado.
referring to what the
It's illegal
NRA
in
was
most
talking
every
about
state, I think.
regarding you would have insurance for if you actually shot someone and it would cover your legal fees?
Whoa.
The NRA
They already
is trying
have
to pass
that. The NRA
Okay.
has that, and so does, it's called a gun shield. It's $11 a month, and they give you $1 million of insurance the second it
The
happens.
Trayvon Martin
They
deal.
also
Jesus
they also cover your kids for bullies and shit like that. I'm not.
That's less than
No.
that's less than two
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not trying
Netflixes.
to be a smart ass, but
Right.
I'm just saying that's a real deal.
There's more
there is insurance
use for it.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
heard about that.
Because the
a couple
second,
years
if
ago.
you actually shot somebody, whether it was self-defense or not, you're A, going to jail, and B, you're losing your gun.
Yeah, finally, if you guys just give us let us know how we can follow your organization and your endeavors and everything you're doing. Let people know what they can do.
We, if you go on Facebook, Never Again CO, we're there. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We've got a website. If you wanna, we're going to be getting pretty busy here in the next few months. Like I said, more than anything, we want to put these things to an end. It's in our name. Never again do we want to have to march for another Parkland, Sandy Hook, Columbine, Red Lake. Too many to list. We want Parkland to be the last one. We don't want to see these tragedies happening anymore, and we're open to any ideas that can be backed up by facts and expert opinions that can get us closer to that end goal. And if that's something that you can empathize with, then please follow us, because we won't stop until we can achieve that. So.
And then just really quickly, how much do you get paid per hour as a crisis actor? Seems like a good gig.
Nothing.
Yeah, good benefits as a crisis actor. That's surprising. They got a good union. Yeah.
So for Ceasefire, you could go online to www.coloradoceasefire.org, and there you could click on the Join Us or click on to join to follow our email newsletter. We don't deluge people with email. We just try to let you know when there's things to act on and who to call, and also news about what's going on. I'd also recommend for those here in the room to pick up things in the back table, things about the ERPO or red flag bill. This is a really handy dandy sheet that has contact information from that guy at the top in the White House all the way down to your state legislators and every legislator.
He who will not be named.
And yes, he will not be named. And our grade for them, and then just general gun violence talking points.
Awesome. Definitely soak up those pamphlets back there.
Yeah, and also 6 things you can do to reduce gun violence right there.
Bam. Right away. Patrick, where can we follow you? Take one of your classes.
Wants to follow what
I want
do
to see
for
your
guns.
art. I want to
If
see
you want
your
to follow what I do for art,
I might
I'm
be.
volunteer at Brent's Place for terminally ill kids every month. I do thousands of toys every month. I'm the resident artist for the Children's Public Library. I'll be teaching kids classes all this year. So if you actually want to follow my art, I'm also on the new Rhino Man movie from National Geographic in South Africa for saving the rhinos. I do all the artwork for the baby rhinos. I just
Nice. Do you have like a website or an Instagram or anything like that?
I don't advertise anything I do like that.
Just word of mouth.
I just want to
Word
say,
of mouth, but I want to
Your own
say
mouth.
something too is
Yes.
this is where this starts. Is I know that there's this huge stigma of it's either here or there. It's not. There's reasonable people that will sit here and talk with you on both sides. I knew coming in here that I wouldn't have probably one fucking person on my side. But you know what? I came here to fucking listen. Right? And now I made two people that I would like to sit and talk to more about shit. So. Now I gotta go judge a drinking contest with Bowman's down the street. So.
And Andrew Bueno.
Hi, I host,
Don't forget.
I host comedy shows every Wednesday at Ratio Beer Works. Kind of off topic, I know.
Everyone can use a laugh. No.
Yeah, it's a little break for you.
Cool. And thanks again to our panelists. Give it up for Mutiny. Give it up for yourselves for coming out. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you. We went over tonight, but you seemed interested or you pretended to be interested, so I really appreciate that.
Big thanks to our crew that works tirelessly: Caroline Fry, Wally Wallace, Nicole Marquez, Will Elder, Roger
that
Norquist. Anyone else I forget, because I'm a terrible person. Also, just check out that half-off bookshelf, guys. Keep it light. The Treasure Chest of Slovenia. $10, now $5. I will split the difference. I'm gonna half it again. $2.50.
Bargains.
Big thanks, though, seriously, to Pat, Eileen, and Evan, and Bueno. This is not an easy issue, and I implore you, like Pat said, like everybody else is really, the theme here is listening. Learn something. Treat people with civility. Have a discourse. Don't let your ego just like eat you whole and yell in someone's face. Let's have a discussion and then let's take action. Love each other. Thank you.
Love everyone. Next month is Pop. Have a good one, everybody.